I guess if we look at the longest hitters in the world, we look at Rory McIlroy, Adam Scott, Tiger Woods, Bubba Watson, any of these guys that you want to pick that are on the PGA Tour, they're really bombing the ball out there. One of the things that they all have in common is they have pretty fast hips. Their hips are rotating through the shot. You won't see a lot of players with super high swing speed that are getting their hips into contact, slowing, having the hips almost square to the golf ball and then hitting through there. We can hit that way, we can create a lot of speed, and if you watch my other videos, you know the majority of the speed actually comes from your upper body. We're getting our shoulders and the club to lag and release into there, but we got to keep our hips moving to be able to get lag and to release lag out in front of the shot. So there's a concept called conservation of angular momentum. It sounds really complicated, it's actually pretty easy to understand here, but if we had an angle with my wrist, and let's imagine I'm turning this in a circle. Well, if I keep all the momentum moving in a circular pattern like this at the same velocity, then this is going to create some type of angle here, and it's going to maintain that angle all the way through. So if I was spinning around like a helicopter propeller, it's going to have somewhat of an angle, and as long as I keep that rate constant, this angle is going to stay the same, and it'll just spin around in a circle. If you were to take your ceiling fan and tie a string to it, then you would see that same thing happening. This would be like the ceiling fan blade, here would be the string, and it would just kind of trail along the ceiling fan. Now, what's going to help me to release this angle is to decelerate the hips, but that has to happen late in the swing. A lot of times I see people slowing down the hips too early. So I got a couple keys for you to get this correct. Now, when we do this the right way, what we should have happening, and this is the reason for the straight line release that we talk about in the Top Speed Golf system, as I go to the top, I'm going to get somewhere between 45, even 55 degrees of hip turn as I'm going to the top. For those of you who are struggling with distance, make sure you're getting that good hip turn going into the top of the backswing. That's going to get me to load up. It's going to help my shoulders to turn, just like the power turn in the system. And then as I'm coming into contact, I want my hips to be opening up, and at contact with the ball, I want my hips about 45 degrees open. So what's happening here is my hips are rotating all the way up to around 45 degrees. Just shy of that, they start to slow down when they're up here, and then my club whips through and I lose that angle. So my hips are getting all the way up here to almost 45 before they're probably getting 15, 20 degrees in front of the ball. Then they start to slow down. As I get into my straight line release, which would be out in front of the golf ball, now all this angle that's in my hands and arms is released, just like the tour pros are doing. My hips have slowed down and that club is whipping to catch up. So it's like having this ceiling fan again. Whenever I slow down the ceiling fan blade, that club wants to conserve its angular momentum. This club wants to whip on past. So we're trying to keep the hips moving into our straight line release. That's when they're naturally going to start to slow down, and that's when the club is going to whip past through contact. So if you're struggling casting the club, a lot of times what's happening is you're thinking all arms and hands, the hips are slowing down too early, and we're getting rid of this angle back here. So we've got to keep those hips moving through. So there's a big key with this, which is the position of your hips as you're making this motion. So I'm going to walk through you with this. If you're sitting in your living room, go ahead and stand up out of your chair, and I want you to go through these drills with me. The first one I want you to do, I want you to bump your hips to the left and right. This is what's called a sway. In golf terms, it'd be a sway. You can call it whatever you want to for this, a lateral slide, whatever you want to say. But bump them as far as you can go to the left. So almost all my weight would be on my left foot. My hip is bumped all the way up here. You're going to feel some pain or some pressure in the outside of your hip. That's because your hip socket is kind of pressed, and your upper leg is pressed into your hip socket there, and that makes it pretty tight. Now from there, try to rotate your hips. So try to turn them in a circle, and you'll find out it's almost impossible to do that. So when we get too much sway or slide, get too far in front, we can't turn our hips. Now the compression line, what we teach in the Top Speed Golf system, is to keep that hip in line with your ankle and your shoulder. That way it can rotate freely. So try this one out for me. Now I want you to keep your hips still, no weight shift to the left at all, and I want you to try to rotate your hips from there. You'll see that as long as my right leg starts to turn in, my hips can rotate pretty far. I can get almost to 90 degrees with my hips as I'm coming through to the finish. If I let my shoulders come on around and my right foot come all the way off the ground, I can get all the way to 90, where my hips will be facing toward the target out in the distance. So try that out a few times. The first one, I want you to slide and then try to rotate, and you'll see how that's just too locked up. You can't do it. The second one, I want you to stay all the way back. No weight shift at all. Just put a club across your shoulder, or put a club across your shoulders, or a club across your hips, whichever way you want to do it, and just rotate your hips here to let them go. So when I'm doing this, I'm getting less of a weight shift to the left. I'm feeling like a little bit more weight stays on my right foot. Now in reality, in a golf swing, we don't want to bump so far to the left. That's been a lot of common instruction out there that says bump to the left, and I see so many players sliding out in front, getting too far to the left, and they get jammed up and can't rotate through the ball. I want you to go ahead, feel like as you go to the top, I'm going to start down by feeling like I have a little pressure on my right side, on the inside of my right foot, and I'm going to go ahead and get those hips to rotate a little bit. And then as I come on through, now I'm going to let my weight shift up to the left, and as I finish, it's going to be on my left foot. So put a club across your shoulders. In the backswing, the weight shift goes to the inside of the right foot. As we start down, get those hips starting to rotate, still having a little weight on the inside of the right foot. Once you get about halfway down, when this club's about 45 degrees to the ball, then I want you to shift all the way on through, rotate the hips around, and finish with your weight on your left foot, which would be facing toward the target. So if we do this correctly, it's going to look like this. Little weight shift to the right, keep it on the right, and then all the way through to the left. That's going to allow those hips to rotate on through there. So do a lot of these drills, probably 20 or 30 of them, without even swinging a club. Then grab your club, and we're going to do 20 or 30 more swings, getting the feel of that rhythm. So there still is a weight shift to the right, a weight shift to the left. We're just not lunging the hips up here, locking them up and slowing them down. So we're going to focus on rotating those hips as we hit these shots. Another 20 or 30 reps just making dry swings, just feeling those hips rotating out of the way. And then finally we're going to go to the golf course, grab a bucket of range balls, and we're going to work on those hips rotating as we hit these shots. There we go. So that one, the hips rotated on through. I'm going to go ahead and do a slow motion video so you can see the exact angles, how those are moving, and to see that I'm not bumping too far to the front as I'm making the swing. Hi guys, hope y'all really enjoyed this video. If you did, I got an awesome bonus for you. We need that lag to create lots of club head speed and to hit the ball really far. That's going to help you to lower your handicap as quick as anything. I've got a great lag video, and one of the #1 lag mistakes that I see players make time after time. I'm going to play a preview of that video. If you want to watch that entire video, just click the link that pops up on your screen. If you're on a desktop device, a computer, home computer, if you're on a phone or a tablet, click the iCard and you'll get instant access to that video. Plus, you're going to get 5 more bonus videos from our Top Speed Golf system. I'll see you guys in the lag video. Hi guys, and welcome back. I'm Clay Ballard, and in today's video, we're going to talk about one of the absolute worst drills for creating lag. It's a very common drill that I see. And in this drill, what we're going to do is we're going to set the wrist very early to create an angle of lag, and then we're going to try to hold this throughout the swing. It's one of the worst things that you can do to build lag. I'm going to talk about the science behind why this is the case, and I'm also going to give you a great drill to help you improve your lag, all in this video. Let's go ahead and get started. If I do it this way versus holding that position, exact same thing happens when we're building the lag in the golf swing. So what we want to do is throughout the swing, I want to have a very low and wide takeaway. So I'm not going to set my wrist early at all. If you look at a lot of the top players, you look at Adam Scott, very wide takeaway, not very much wrist set at all. You look at Rory McIlroy, you look at Tiger Woods. All these players are using a wide takeaway and not getting very much wrist set, so that later in the swing, as we start down, we can increase this wrist set, and we're really only going to max out this angle of lag for a split second in the downswing. Okay, so a 3-step drill here. Now, as we get started with this, I want to remind you that the fulcrum in this golf club for getting a massive amount of lag is right at the end of the golf club. This is where I want my hinge point to be.